Hi, this is John Lucas again. We're going to talk about parting tools. This is one of my favorite parting tools. It's made by Packard. It's a diamond parting tool. It's 3/16 of an inch, and I use that one a lot. I like the diamond parting tools because the diamond part is thicker in the middle, and it doesn't bind up as much on the wood. It doesn't create as much friction. Tools was an old Craftsman. The Craftsman, same thing, but it has an 1/8 of an inch cut. It's very, very clean. I love it. A lot of people buy these whenever they can get their hands on one. This is probably one of my favorites. You can tell by how short it is. I bought it for $2.50 at the flea market. It's just a carbon steel parting tool, so you do have to be careful sharpening it. I do use it a lot for cutting beads because of the shape and the size. It's very easy to make your own parting tools. You can see this one I made from a keyhole saw bit or a drywall saw. You can buy these saws at the flea market for next to nothing, and you just grind away all the teeth and make it whatever shape you want. You'll notice the shape of this one's a little bit unusual. The reason I do that is so that it matches my bowl gouge in height. The tip is about the same from the tool rest, so when I'm cutting with the bowl gouge, I can switch over to my parting tool for cutting boxes and never change the tool rest height. These are old steak knives that you can get at the flea market for $1 or so, and this is a paring knife. What I do is I grind off the bottom edge so it's not sharp. These are handy because these are wider at the top than the bottom, so you get a very clean cut. The downside is, since you're cutting or holding the tool rest on the very bottom, they want to tip on you as you cut, so you do have to kind of grip them. This little one I really love. It's great for doing small boxes. First thing I'm going to show you is two different cuts. First one, I'm going to start with the tool straight in. The next cut, I'm going to start with the tool on the bevel. I'm going to lift up the cut until it starts to cut, and I'll make the cut. Now I want you to see the difference on this. On the second cut, you'll notice there's little bitty fibers sticking up here and there. On the first cut, there wasn't. The first cut, by pushing the tool straight in, your only control is how far and how hard I push it in. The second cut will stop any time that I stop raising the handle. So it can sit there and turn all day long and it won't cut any deeper. I can lift the handle a hair, make a cut, stop, and it will keep on going. So in order to get the advantage of both of these cuts, what I do is I start the cut by pushing straight in. That gets rid of all the fiber on the edges. Then I'll simply raise the handle till the bevel's rubbing, and then slowly start cutting in. This way I can cut just as deep as I want, control the cut very accurately, and I get a very clean edge as well. So you can see the bevel rubbing cut a little more accurately. Again, what I do is I start the cut straight in. Then I'll slide the tool up until the bevel's rubbing. Then you can lift the cut up. And again, I can stop anywhere I want. As long as I don't move the handle, it's not going to cut any deeper. Suppose I want to cut a 1-inch tenon on here. What I'll do is I'll set my calipers to 1 inch. And I'll take my parting tool. And as I start cutting in, and again, I can stop anywhere I want. I can gently lay my calipers in there, just barely touching. And when they slide over, it's 1 inch. I'll move back a little bit. We'll make the same cut again. One more time back here. Then I just simply connect those. I don't go all the way down. I go back and I barely take it off then. And there I have a 1-inch tenon. You want to cut a taper, such as if you're trying to make a baseball bat, or in this case a number 2 Morse taper. Well, what I've done is I built myself a little jig here. The big end fits in right there. The small end fits in right here, and that distance tells me the right distance. So all I have to do is set my distance. Then I take the big end and my parting tool, and I make a cut. And I take my small end and I make a parting cut. Get rid of a little bit of a waste here. Then it's just a matter of simply connecting those 2 points. I'm going to give myself a little more room to work. Take my rough out gouge. And there's my number 2 Morse taper. These are very handy when you need real odd little accessories to go in your headstock. Now we often have to cut a lot of dovetails for your chuck, and I just do it with the parting tool. You know, I kind of know the sizes that I need. If you don't, get yourself a sizing gauge. What I do is I tilt the tool to the left, and I simply cut downhill. You'll notice that the left side of the parting tool butts against this edge at an angle, and that gives me a good square shoulder for my chuck to butt against. It's often better to go ahead and make 2 cuts. You get a lot less friction, you can go in deeper, a lot easier on the tool. However, when you do that, it makes a very wide curve. If you're making a box, you want the curve to be very thin. So what I do to sort of alleviate that is one of 2 things. I'll go in and cut a little bit like this. Then I use the edge of my box as a fulcrum, and I go in and cut to the left, and then I go and cut to the right, and then the left, and then the right. So what I've done is I've enlarged the area back here, but I've kept my curve to the very minimum. This works even better with the thin parting tools because you can make your cut. Again, you go to the left, right, left, right. Each time I'm making the cut a little deeper. And you part it off and you have a very, very, very thin curve then. Okay, putting it all together real quick, I'm going to show you how I rough out my mirror handles. I've already roughed it out. This is my little jig. It has nails in it to position all the marks. This is the top. This is going to be the tenon to my mirror. You'll notice I use a wrench. The wrench is very handy. It's 3/8 of an inch, and it matches my tenon holes just perfectly. I take it down just a hair more. Then I usually roughly match that to 3/8 inch. I like a double taper. Then to make things faster, I get my taper started here. I want to turn a bead or 2 beads here, so I make the mark in the middle, and I can kind of roll the beads a little bit with this tool. And what that does is it takes a little bit less time then with the skew. And I go over here and I do the same thing. I want to make a set of beads here, and each one's going to be a little smaller than the next one. So I just go ahead and kind of rough those out, get them started. Then I can use my spindle roughing gouge. Get my tapers down real close. You'll notice I use the little end of my parting tool here as kind of a skew to help clean up those spindles. And that's all there is to it. At this point in time, I'm ready to go to my skew. Now you'll notice I'm pushing on the bevel very, very lightly, and I'm supporting the cut with my fingers because this is a 3/8 inch shaft, and you'll get a lot of chatter if you don't. Got to get rid of that little catch that y'all saw me get. Won't be able to cut this very accurately because the tripod is getting in my way. Anyway, I'd spend a little more time cleaning that up, of course, but that's the basics of turning a little handle.